Welcome, seekers of the strange and the supernatural, to Whispers Beyond the Veil, your go-to channel for spine-chilling tales and haunted histories. Here, we delve into the eerie corners of the world, where shadows whisper secrets and walls echo with stories untold. Today, we embark on a chilling journey through one of the most historically rich and undeniably haunted regions in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon. Known for its lush forests, rugged coastlines, and storied past, Oregon is also home to some of the most haunted places you'll ever encounter. Among them stands a hospital whose name strikes fear into the hearts of paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike. A place where the boundary between life and death blurs dangerously thin. In this deep dive, we will explore the dark legacy of Oregon's most haunted hospital, peeling back the veil of its haunting allure. This infamous institution has earned its reputation not only through its tragic history but also through countless reports of unexplained phenomena that defy rational explanation. From ghostly apparitions roaming its abandoned halls to disembodied voices echoing through empty rooms, this hospital is a nexus of supernatural activity that continues to captivate and terrify those who dare to investigate it. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, prepare to have your curiosity piqued and your courage tested as we venture into the unknown. So grab your flashlight, keep your wits about you, and join us as we step into the shadows of Oregon's haunted past. Let the whispers begin. The history of Salem General Hospital, a legacy etched in tragedy nestled amidst the misty hills of Salem, Oregon. Salem General Hospital stands as an architectural relic of both medical progress and human suffering. Established in 1887 during a period of rapid expansion in the Pacific Northwest, the hospital was initially heralded as a beacon of hope for the burgeoning community. Designed to serve the growing population of settlers, loggers, and farmers, it quickly became a cornerstone of healthcare in the region. Its towering brick facade and sprawling campus were symbols of modernity and resilience, promising healing and solace to those in need. But behind its sterile walls and polished corridors lay a darker narrative, one steeped in tragedy, neglect, and despair. The hospital's early years were marked by groundbreaking advancements in medicine and surgery, attracting skilled doctors and nurses eager to make their mark. Yet, these achievements were overshadowed by the harsh realities of the time. Limited resources, rudimentary treatments, and overcrowded wards created conditions ripe for suffering. Patients afflicted with tuberculosis, smallpox, and other infectious diseases filled the beds, their cries echoing through the halls as they battled illnesses with little chance of survival. For many, Salem General became not a place of healing but a house of last resort, a final stop before death claimed them. As the decades passed, the hospital expanded its services, adding psychiatric care to its roster in the 1920s. This decision would prove pivotal in shaping its haunted reputation. The Asylum wing, housed in a separate building on the grounds, became a site of controversy and cruelty. Patients diagnosed with mental illnesses were subjected to experimental treatments, including electroshock therapy, lobotomies, and prolonged isolation. Many were forcibly committed by family members seeking to rid themselves of unwanted relatives, while others arrived after minor infractions deemed unbecoming behavior at the time. These individuals, stripped of their autonomy and dignity, endured unimaginable horrors within the confines of the asylum. Tragedy struck repeatedly throughout the hospital's history. Fires broke out in the early 1900s, claiming the lives of both patients and staff. A devastating flood in the 1940s inundated the lower levels, leaving behind a trail of destruction and disease. During World War II, the facility was repurposed to treat wounded soldiers, further straining its already limited capacity. Tales of botched surgeries, misdiagnoses, and wrongful deaths began to circulate among locals, fueling rumors of malpractice and cover-ups. By the mid-20th century, Salem General had earned a grim reputation as a place where mistakes went unpunished and lives were treated as expendable. Perhaps the darkest chapter in the hospital's history unfolded in the 1960s, when reports of abuse and neglect in the psychiatric ward came to light. Investigations revealed squalid living conditions, physical restraints used indiscriminately, and punishments meted out for even minor infractions. Several high-profile cases of patient suicides and mysterious disappearances added to the growing public outcry. Despite attempts to reform the system, the damage was done. The asylum wing was eventually shut down in the late 1970s, leaving behind a scarred legacy that still haunts the property today. By the early 2000s, Salem General Hospital ceased operations entirely, unable to compete with newer, more advanced facilities in the area. What remained was a sprawling complex frozen in time, a labyrinth of decaying wards, rusted equipment, and forgotten memories. Overgrown ivy crept up the crumbling brick walls, while broken windows gaped like hollow eyes, watching silently over the grounds. Though abandoned, the hospital refused to fade into obscurity. Instead, it became a magnet for urban explorers, paranormal investigators, and thrill-seekers drawn to its sinister allure. The layers of tragedy embedded in Salem General's history have left an indelible mark on its atmosphere. Each room tells a story of pain and loss: the operating theaters where desperate surgeries took place, the padded cells where tormented minds unraveled, the morgue where countless bodies awaited identification. It is no wonder that so many believe the spirits of those who suffered there remain trapped, unable, or unwilling, to move on. As we delve deeper into the haunted lore of Salem General Hospital, remember that its ghosts are not merely figments of imagination, they are echoes of real lives cut tragically short. And if you dare to step inside, tread lightly, you may find yourself face to face with someone who never left. The infamous psychiatric ward, a labyrinth of torment. If Salem General Hospital is a monument to human suffering, then its psychiatric ward is its beating, broken heart, a place where the line between sanity and madness blurred, and where the cries of the tormented still reverberate through its crumbling walls. Tucked away in a remote corner of the hospital grounds, the asylum wing was designed to be self-contained, isolated from the rest of the facility both physically and emotionally. Its heavy iron doors and barred windows served as barriers not just against escape but against prying eyes, ensuring that the horrors within remained hidden from the outside world. What transpired inside those walls during its operational years reads like a macabre script penned by despair itself. Upon entering the psychiatric ward, patients were stripped of their identities, reduced to numbers on charts and files in cabinets. Their personal belongings confiscated, they were forced into institutional uniforms and subjected to regimens meant to cure their perceived ailments. But far from offering healing, these methods often inflicted deeper wounds. Electroconvulsive therapy, once hailed as a revolutionary treatment, was administered without anesthesia in many cases, leaving patients convulsing uncontrollably and disoriented for days. Lobotomies, crude procedures involving the severing of neural connections in the brain, turned vibrant personalities into hollow shells, incapable of coherent thought or emotion. Isolation rooms, pitch black and suffocating, became prisons for those deemed too unruly or disruptive, their screams muffled by thick walls and societal indifference. The stories of individual patients paint a harrowing picture of life, or rather, existence, within the asylum. Take, for instance, the case of Eleanor Grayson, a young woman admitted in the 1950s after being accused of promiscuity by her conservative family. Her crime? Attending dances and speaking freely about her ambitions. Diagnosed with hysteria, she endured years of confinement, subjected to repeated ECT sessions that left her unable to recognize her own reflection. Staff journals note her gradual withdrawal from reality, culminating in her eventual suicide in one of the isolation cells. Her body was discovered days later, slumped against the wall, her fingers clawed raw from trying to scratch her way out. Then there was James Holloway, a decorated war veteran struggling with what we now understand as post-traumatic stress disorder. Misdiagnosed as schizophrenic, he was placed in restraints for weeks on end, his pleas for help dismissed as delusions. Witnesses recall hearing him muttering prayers in the dead of night, his voice trembling with desperation. One fateful evening, during a violent storm, James managed to break free from his restraints and fled into the courtyard. He was found the next morning, his lifeless body sprawled beneath a tree, his face frozen in an expression of abject terror. Some say he saw something, or someone, that drove him to flee, though no official explanation was ever provided. But perhaps the most infamous tale involves Room 312, a cramped cell located on the third floor of the asylum. Known among staff as The devil's den. It was reserved for the most volatile patients. Rumors swirled that the room was cursed, with multiple occupants meeting untimely ends under mysterious circumstances. One particularly chilling account describes a nurse named Margaret, who worked the night shift in the early 1970s. According to her journal entries, unearthed decades later, Margaret reported seeing shadowy figures standing over the beds of restrained patients, their forms flickering like candle flames. She claimed to hear whispered voices urging her to release the patients, promises of freedom laced with threats of retribution. On her final night, Margaret vanished without a trace, her uniform found neatly folded on the floor of room 312. Her fate remains unknown, though some believe she fell victim to whatever malevolent force haunted the space. Even after the asylum's closure, the psychiatric ward continued to cast a long shadow over Salem General. Urban explorers recount feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they navigate its dimly lit corridors, the air thick with the scent of mildew and decay. Voices whisper unintelligibly in empty rooms, while cold spots materialize suddenly, sending shivers down spines. Photographs taken within the ward reveal orbs hovering near doorways and shadowy figures lingering in corners, their presence undeniable yet inexplicable. Paranormal investigators equipped with EMF detectors and EVP recorders have captured evidence suggesting residual hauntings, echoes of past traumas replaying endlessly, like a broken record stuck in time. What makes the psychiatric ward uniquely terrifying is not just its haunted reputation but the visceral connection it fosters between the living and the dead. Unlike other sections of the hospital, which bear witness to physical ailments and surgical mishaps, the asylum embodies the fragility of the human mind. It is a place where hope was extinguished, where dignity was stripped away, and where the soul itself seemed to fracture under the weight of relentless torment. To walk its halls is to confront the darkest aspects of humanity, not just the actions of those who inflicted the suffering but the systemic failures that allowed it to persist. For those brave enough to visit, the psychiatric ward offers a sobering glimpse into the consequences of unchecked power and misplaced authority. Yet, it also serves as a chilling testament to the idea that some wounds never fully heal. Whether viewed as a haunted relic or a cautionary tale, the Asylum wing of Salem General Hospital continues to resonate with the echoes of its past, ensuring that the voices of its victims will never be silenced. Patient Zero, the ghost of Elizabeth Harper among the myriad spectral figures said to haunt Salem General Hospital, none looms larger, or more terrifying, than the ghost of Elizabeth Harper. Known colloquially as Patient Zero, Elizabeth's tragic story serves as both a catalyst and a cornerstone of the hospital's haunted reputation. Her presence is felt throughout the building, but it is in the psychiatric ward where her influence is said to be strongest, a chilling reminder of the atrocities committed within its walls. Elizabeth Harper was admitted to Salem General in 1947 at the age of 29, following a series of increasingly erratic behaviors that alarmed her family. Described as intelligent, creative, and fiercely independent, Elizabeth had recently divorced her abusive husband and moved to Salem to start anew. However, her attempts to rebuild her life were met with suspicion and hostility from the conservative community. When neighbors reported seeing her talking animatedly to herself in her garden, local authorities intervened, deeming her mentally unstable. Without due process or proper evaluation, she was forcibly committed to the hospital's psychiatric ward, where her nightmare truly began. From the moment she entered the asylum, Elizabeth fought vehemently against her confinement, insisting that she was sane and capable of caring for herself. Her protests fell on deaf ears, dismissed as symptoms of her supposed illness. Subjected to a regimen of experimental treatments, including electroconvulsive therapy and insulin shock therapy, Elizabeth's health deteriorated rapidly. Her once vibrant personality was replaced by a shell of confusion and despair. Yet, even in her weakened state, she refused to surrender her spirit. Accounts from former staff describe her as a firebrand, constantly attempting to rally other patients to resist their oppressors. It was this defiance that ultimately sealed her fate. On a frigid winter night in 1951, Elizabeth staged a daring escape attempt. Using a shard of glass smuggled from the cafeteria, she managed to unlock her restraints and slip past the guards patrolling the ward. Witnesses claim to have seen her running barefoot through the snow-covered courtyard, her hospital gown flapping wildly in the wind. Before she could reach the perimeter fence, however, she collapsed, overcome by exhaustion and exposure. She was found hours later, her body stiff and lifeless, her lips frozen in a silent scream. Official records list her cause of death as hypothermia, but those who knew her best believe she died of something far more insidious: a broken spirit, crushed by the weight of injustice. Since her untimely demise, Elizabeth's ghost has become a fixture of the hospital's haunted lore. Countless visitors and staff members report encountering her apparition, often in the very places where she suffered most. In the psychiatric ward, her translucent figure has been spotted pacing the halls, her movements jerky and unnatural, as though reliving the trauma of her captivity. Some describe her appearance as ethereal, clad in tattered remnants of her hospital gown, her hair wild and unkempt. Others claim she appears as she did in life, alive with defiance, her piercing gaze challenging anyone who dares to meet it. The encounters with Elizabeth are anything but passive. Those who cross paths with her often experience sudden drops in temperature, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread. Whispers fill the air, repeating phrases like, "Let me go," and "You can't keep me here." Their origins impossible to pinpoint. More disturbingly, several individuals have reported being physically accosted by Elizabeth's ghost. Nurses working late shifts have described feeling icy hands gripping their wrists, while security guards patrolling the grounds swear they've been shoved violently from behind, only to turn and find no one there. One particularly harrowing incident involved a group of paranormal investigators conducting a live broadcast from the hospital's basement. As they set up their equipment, one member, a seasoned investigator named Sarah, felt an inexplicable urge to ascend to the third floor. Upon reaching room 312, she froze, staring at the doorway as though transfixed. Her colleagues watched in stunned silence as she began speaking in a voice unlike her own, low and guttural, uttering words that made no sense. When they attempted to intervene, Sarah lashed out, her strength seemingly superhuman. It took 3 men to restrain her, and even then, she thrashed violently, screaming accusations of betrayal and imprisonment. Hours later, when she regained consciousness, Sarah had no memory of the episode, though she bore bruises consistent with being restrained. Paranormal researchers have long been fascinated by Elizabeth's ghost, viewing her as a manifestation of unresolved anger and grief. Using tools such as thermal cameras and digital audio recorders, investigators have captured compelling evidence of her presence, including phrases like, "I'm still here," and "You'll pay." Thermal imaging footage shows fleeting heat signatures moving erratically, as though driven by sheer rage. Skeptics may dismiss these findings as coincidence or fabrication, but for those who've experienced Elizabeth firsthand, there is little doubt that she remains tethered to the hospital, her wrath undiminished by time. What sets Elizabeth apart from other haunted figures is her dual nature. While she is undoubtedly a vengeful spirit, capable of instilling terror in those who enter her domain, she is also a symbol of resilience and resistance. Her story resonates deeply with marginalized communities, serving as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked authority and the importance of advocating for the vulnerable. For every person who fears her, there is another who views her as a protector, a guardian spirit determined to expose the injustices of the past and prevent them from recurring. To encounter Elizabeth Harper is to confront not just a ghost but a force of nature. She is the embodiment of every wrong committed within Salem General Hospital, a living testament to the scars left behind by systemic neglect and cruelty. Whether you view her as a harbinger of doom or a champion of justice, one thing is certain: Elizabeth Harper refuses to be forgotten. And if you find yourself walking the halls of Salem General, listen closely. You might just hear her calling your name. The morgue, where death refuses to rest beneath the crumbling edifice of Salem General Hospital, lies a realm untouched by sunlight, where the air hangs heavy with the metallic tang of rust and decay. The morgue, once a sterile chamber of clinical precision, now stands as a macabre testament to the fragility of life and the persistence of death. This subterranean sanctuary, hidden away from prying eyes, has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted spaces within the hospital. It is here, among the cold steel tables and rusted lockers, that the boundary between the living and the dead seems perilously thin, inviting those brave enough to descend into its depths to confront the ultimate mystery: what happens when the dead refuse to stay gone? The morgue's design reflects its utilitarian purpose, a stark contrast to the ornate architecture of the hospital above. Rows of steel drawers line the walls, each bearing a tarnished handle that creaks ominously when pulled. A single autopsy table dominates the center of the room, its surface pitted and stained with decades-old residue. Overhead, fluorescent lights flicker intermittently, casting an uneven glow that does little to dispel the oppressive darkness. Yet, it is not the physical attributes of the space that disturb visitors most. It is the palpable sense of unease that permeates every inch of the chamber. Those who dare to enter often describe feeling as though they are being watched, as if unseen eyes follow their every movement. Stories of supernatural occurrences in the morgue abound, each more unsettling than the last. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty corridors leading to the chamber. Visitors and staff alike have sworn they heard the unmistakable clatter of shoes on tile, only to find no one there upon investigation. These phantom footsteps are often accompanied by the faint hum of machinery, reminiscent of the refrigeration units that once kept bodies preserved. Some claim the noise grows louder as they approach the morgue, culminating in a deafening crescendo that ceases abruptly upon crossing the threshold. Equally chilling are the accounts of apparitions witnessed within the morgue itself. Numerous individuals have reported seeing shadowy figures lying motionless on the autopsy table, their forms indistinct yet undeniably human. Others describe glimpsing spectral hands protruding from the open drawers, their fingers twitching as though trying to escape. One particularly vivid account comes from a janitor tasked with cleaning the space in the 1990s. He recounted how, while polishing the stainless steel surfaces, he caught sight of a reflection in the mirrored wall opposite him. Turning around, he expected to see nothing but empty space, but instead, he locked eyes with the ghostly visage of a man in a blood-stained hospital gown. The apparition raised a finger to its lips, signaling silence, before vanishing into thin air. Physical manifestations of the supernatural are not uncommon in the morgue. Equipment left untouched overnight has been found scattered across the floor, as though hurled by an invisible force. Temperature fluctuations occur without warning, plunging the room into icy coldness despite the absence of drafts or ventilation systems. Some visitors report feeling a sudden pressure on their chests, as though an unseen hand is pressing down on them, while others describe being brushed by cold, clammy fingers, an experience so visceral it leaves them gasping for breath. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the morgue's haunting is the phenomenon known as the drawer test. Paranormal investigators visiting the hospital have conducted experiments involving the steel drawers lining the walls. After closing all the drawers and securing the handles, they retreat to a safe distance and monitor the area using video cameras. Time and again, footage reveals the drawers sliding open independently, sometimes one at a time, other times in rapid succession. In several instances, investigators captured thermal images showing heat signatures emanating from within the drawers, suggesting the presence of entities attempting to emerge. Local legends add another layer of intrigue to the morgue's haunted reputation. According to folklore, the bodies stored there during the hospital's operational years included not only patients who succumbed to illness or injury, but also unidentified individuals brought in from nearby accident sites and crime scenes. Some believe these nameless souls remain trapped, unable to cross over due to the lack of proper burial rites. Others speculate that the morgue became a dumping ground for victims of covert experiments conducted by rogue physicians, their mutilated remains left to rot in secret. Whatever the truth, the morgue exudes an aura of unfinished business, as though the spirits within are waiting for someone, or something, to set them free. Modern-day explorers of Salem General Hospital often cite the morgue as the epicenter of its paranormal activity. Armed with EMF meters, infrared cameras, and audio recording devices, teams have documented numerous anomalies that defy logical explanation. Their words distorted yet discernible. Phrases like "help me" and "it's too late" recur frequently, lending credence to the belief that the morgue houses tormented souls desperate to communicate. Thermal imaging footage shows figures darting between the rows of drawers, their movements fluid yet unnatural. Even seasoned skeptics admit to feeling unnerved when stepping into the morgue, citing an inexplicable sensation of being surrounded by unseen presences. What makes the morgue uniquely terrifying is its ability to evoke primal fears. The claustrophobic environment, combined with the knowledge of the suffering that occurred there, creates a perfect storm of psychological unease. For those who dare to descend, the experience is akin to stepping into a nightmare, one where the line between reality and imagination blurs dangerously. Shadows seem to stretch unnaturally, sounds distort unpredictably, and the very walls appear to close in, as if the earth itself is conspiring to keep intruders trapped. Yet, amid the terror lies a poignant reminder of mortality and the fragility of human existence. The morgue may be haunted, but it also symbolizes the finality of death and the enduring quest for answers. Every drawer opened, every whisper heard, serves as a tribute to the countless lives shaped, or ended, by this forsaken chamber. To explore Salem General's morgue is to confront not only the supernatural, but also the enduring scars of history. And as you emerge back into the light, blinking against the brightness, you may find yourself haunted less by fear and more by reverence, for the stories etched into the darkness, and the spirits who refuse to be silenced. The Children's Ward, echoes of innocence lost amidst the labyrinthine corridors of Salem General Hospital, lies a place where the air feels lighter, yet infinitely heavier. A contradiction that defines the haunting essence of the Children's Ward. Once a sanctuary of colorful murals, tiny beds, and the soft hum of lullabies, this section of the hospital now stands as a stark reminder of innocence betrayed and lives extinguished far too soon. Unlike the psychiatric ward or the morgue, where despair and death reign supreme, the Children's Ward evokes a different kind of sorrow, one rooted in the fragility of youth and the cruel randomness of fate. Here, the spirits of young patients linger, their laughter and tears interwoven with the fabric of the space, creating an atmosphere both heartbreaking and surreal. The Children's Ward opened in the early 1920s, a response to the growing need for pediatric care in Salem. Decorated with whimsical paintings of animals, fairy tale characters, and playful landscapes, the ward aimed to provide a sense of normalcy and comfort to its young occupants. Yet, beneath the cheerful veneer lay a grim reality. Many of the children admitted to the hospital suffered from incurable diseases such as tuberculosis, polio, and congenital disorders. Others arrived with severe injuries sustained in accidents or acts of violence. For some, the ward became a temporary refuge. For others, it was their final resting place. Stories of individual patients paint a poignant picture of life within the ward. There was Emily Carter, a 6-year-old girl diagnosed with leukemia in the 1950s. Her sunny disposition endeared her to staff and fellow patients alike, earning her the nickname Sunshine. Despite her illness, Emily maintained a fierce determination to enjoy every moment of her short life. She would often sit by the window, sketching pictures of birds and flowers, convinced that she would one day fly away with them. When she passed away quietly in her sleep, her drawings were pinned to the walls as a tribute, their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the somber mood that settled over the ward. Then there was Tommy Jensen, a rambunctious 8-year-old admitted after a farming accident left him with severe burns. Confined to his bed, Tommy channeled his energy into storytelling, weaving fantastical tales of knights and dragons for anyone willing to listen. His favorite spot was the playroom, where he'd gather other children around him, his voice rising and falling with dramatic flair. One night, during a thunderstorm, Tommy allegedly claimed he saw a dragon perched on the windowsill, its scales shimmering in the lightning. He smiled and whispered, "It's come to take me home," before slipping into unconsciousness. He never woke up. These stories, though tragic, pale in comparison to the darker episodes that unfolded within the ward. Rumors of neglect and abuse circulated among staff, with allegations that some nurses prioritized easier cases over critically ill children. Supplies were often scarce, forcing parents to bring blankets and food from home. In extreme cases, families abandoned their children altogether, unable, or unwilling, to cope with the emotional and financial toll of prolonged hospitalization. The result was a generation of forgotten souls, left to languish in a system ill-equipped to care for them. Today, the children's ward is a ghostly echo of its former self. Peeling wallpaper reveals faded outlines of murals, while rusted cribs stand abandoned in corners, their bars bent and broken. Yet, it is not the physical decay that unsettles visitors, it is the presence of the children themselves. Reports of paranormal activity in the ward are abundant, ranging from playful antics to profound moments of grief. Explorers recount hearing faint giggling emanating from empty rooms, followed by the sound of tiny footsteps running down hallways. Toys left behind by previous visitors have been found rearranged or missing entirely, as though invisible hands are playing with them. More unsettling are the encounters with apparitions. Several individuals have reported seeing the translucent figure of a young girl clutching a stuffed rabbit, her wide eyes filled with confusion. Others describe glimpsing a boy in pajamas standing by the window, gazing wistfully at the sky. One particularly chilling account involves a nurse who worked night shifts in the 1980s. She claimed to feel small hands tugging at her scrubs, urging her to follow them into the playroom. When she complied, she found the room illuminated by an inexplicable golden light, with dozens of children sitting in a circle, laughing and clapping. The moment she stepped closer, the scene dissolved into darkness, leaving her alone in the freezing cold. Paranormal investigators have long been drawn to the children's ward, captivated by its unique blend of innocence and tragedy. Using tools such as EVP recorders and thermal cameras, they've captured compelling evidence suggesting the presence of youthful spirits. Audio recordings reveal the sound of children singing nursery rhymes, their voices overlapping in eerie harmony. Thermal imaging footage shows fleeting heat signatures darting between beds, their movements quick and erratic. Some researchers believe these phenomena represent residual hauntings, echoes of past events replaying endlessly, like a film loop stuck in time. What sets the children's ward apart from other haunted locations is its ability to evoke conflicting emotions. On one hand, it inspires tenderness and protectiveness, a desire to shield the innocent from harm. On the other, it elicits profound sadness, a recognition of lives cut tragically short and dreams left unfulfilled. For those who dare to visit, the ward offers a sobering glimpse into the fragility of childhood and the enduring power of memory. As you walk its halls, listen closely. You may hear the faint rustle of paper as Emily sketches her birds, or the excited chatter of Tommy spinning his tales. These echoes are not mere remnants of the past. They are testaments to the resilience of the human spirit, even in its most vulnerable form. Whether viewed as a haunted relic or a shrine to lost innocence, the children's ward of Salem General Hospital continues to resonate with the whispers of its past, ensuring that the voices of its youngest victims will never be silenced. As we draw the curtains on our haunting exploration of Salem General Hospital, let us pause to reflect on the profound tapestry of terror and tragedy that we have uncovered. From the desolate corridors of the psychiatric ward to the chilling depths of the morgue, and from the playful yet sorrowful echoes of the children's ward to the vengeful spirit of Elizabeth Harper, we have traversed a landscape where the past and present intertwine with the supernatural. These stories are not mere fabrications of fear, they are the echoes of real lives, real sufferings, and real mysteries that continue to pulse through the veins of this forsaken institution. Salem General Hospital stands as a testament to the duality of human nature, our capacity for compassion and cruelty, innovation and negligence, hope and despair. Its haunted reputation is not merely a collection of ghostly tales but a mirror reflecting the scars of history, society, and the human condition. The spirits that linger within its walls, whether restless, vengeful, or simply lost, are reminders that the dead do not always depart quietly. They carry with them fragments of their lives, their pain, and their stories, refusing to be erased by time or progress. This journey into the heart of Oregon's most haunted hospital is far from over. While we have peeled back layers of its haunted legacy, countless mysteries remain buried within its crumbling walls, waiting to be unearthed. In future installments, we will delve even deeper into the shadows, uncovering more chilling tales and forgotten legends. We will shine a light on the darkest corners of Salem General, where the veil between worlds grows thinnest and the whispers of the past grow loudest. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, the ghosts of Salem General are not confined to its physical space. They reside in the collective memory of those who dare to listen, to explore, and to honor the lives that once walked its halls. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the haunted heart of Oregon. Keep your lanterns lit. We'll see you soon.